Today we're going to take you on a tour of the Swarr Run floodplain restoration. And this is the plan view of the site. This is the design drawings. And you can see the upstream restoration reach that we'll see today, and then a future phase downstream restoration reach. This is part of a larger land development project. The Penn State Hospital is going to be going in here, and we'll see that on our tour. There's future development planned for the other portions of this parcel, and this is a unique project in that the floodplain restoration is actually serving as the primary stormwater management control for the site. So where the developer would normally need to put large detention basins on the site to manage stormwater, to manage runoff coming from the parking lots and rooftops, in this case the enhanced function of the restored floodplain to manage stormwater, to provide storage, will offset their needs for stormwater management. So it's a win for the developer, but it's also a win for the township. This project will also reduce sediment load in Swarr Run, which is a tributary to the Little Conestoga. And so the township will recognize some benefit in the sediment load reductions that will result from this project. The community will also benefit from the habitat restoration and the recreational opportunities here. So it's a win-win project for everyone involved, and we're going to show you a little bit more about this today. So this is the area that we're going to see today, and the future phase will be coming online next year. So this is a zoomed in view. We will see that this lower portion is nearly complete. The upper portion is not yet started, and the active construction zone is here in the middle. So we'll look at all of that today. But to understand the design, we need to go back a few hundred years and understand legacy sediment. And the premise of this design is to remove that legacy sediment. So to understand what that means, this is a map from 1864, and the orange outline here is our site, and the squiggly lines through here are the stream. And you'll notice that all through this there's two channels, and they come together and they split apart and they come back together, and you see words like G mill, that would be grist mill, mill race again. And so what you're seeing here is a series of mills, mill dams, mill ponds, and races. And if you think back in 1864, and actually all of this started long before then, in the late 1700s, mid to late 1700s, everything was powered by water. They didn't have electricity, and so all of their industry was powered by water. And so you saw this series of dams and mill ponds that would power these industrial facilities. And that had significant impacts in the way that we see the streams today. So here's a sketch of a mill and a mill pond, and this would be in plan view. And you can see how the stream comes in and it goes through the pond and splits and comes back together. And so there were different configurations for how these went, but you typically have a race in the main stream channel. In profile view, you can see the mill pond here and the mill, and then this would be a tail race where it's going back to the stream. And this could be a grain mill, it could be a sawmill, it could be one of any number of other industrial uses. And at the same time that all of this milling was happening, we were clearing forests for timber, for agricultural use, for just development. And so we were clearing hillsides, and we did not do a very good job with erosion control. And this may have been a typical hillside after it was cleared, and all of the soil that eroded out of here would flow down to the stream and get caught in these mill ponds. And so you had an accumulation of material on top of our stream valleys that filled them in. And over the course of a couple hundred years, these dams may have been built higher, mills may have moved, and so ultimately on Swarr Run and many of the other streams in Lancaster County and in the Mid-Atlantic region, what we see as our streams today is really a product of this legacy sediment filling in the valley bottoms, and then we have these streams that are incised with vertical eroding banks. And what we want to do with this restoration project is remove that legacy sediment and restore the stream and wetlands and floodplain to what they once were. This is a soil profile that was actually taken from Swarr Run, or the land adjacent to Swarr Run, the floodplain. And you can see down here at the bottom there is gravels, and these are what we call basal gravels and alluvial gravels. This would be where you'd have groundwater exchange with the stream, and this would be where your historic stream bed would be. A lot of times we see that the streams have cut back down to this zone, and sometimes not. Sometimes they're up higher. But right on top of these gravels we have this dark layer, and that is the buried wetland soil. And you can see a piece of wood in here. I'll zoom in a minute. But this is the old floodplain wetland that was buried, and then on top of it is over 3 feet of legacy sediment that has buried that whole stream and wetland system as a result of those mill ponds. So we'll zoom in a little bit here on this video and you can see it a little bit more clearly, but here are the basal gravels we come into, and we'll see a little bit of that today in the field. We'll see the organic layer and the wood that's preserved. As long as that stays saturated, that wood will be preserved. And then on top of that is the stack of legacy sediment that is high in clay content and not extremely productive. So that's what we're going to see. I'm going to skip ahead, and this is a project that was done also in the Little Conestoga watershed just a couple years ago. This is on Brubaker Run, but this will give you a picture of what the Swarr Run project ultimately